I just felt led to kind of stop here for a quick second and just talk about this. But you know, there's a lot of I have family members that are Catholic, right? But when I've talked to them about the baptism of the Holy Spirit and being born again, you know, it's all a part of the salvation, I believe. Two separate experiences, though. I believe it's two separate experiences: the born again experience and the baptism. I said, "Have you been baptized in the Holy Spirit?" And they said, "Yeah, I have." I said, "Oh, really?" And they said, "Yeah, well, when I got baptized." And so, you know, they kind of think that, hey, whenever I'm born again, I'm baptized in the Holy Spirit, which, you know, I teach is two separate experiences.
Mm.
And so, you know, it's just
I would agree with that, by the way.
you would.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And so, you know, what I teach people is this: is, you know, it's in John chapter 20 where Jesus, you know, he resurrects, right? You see him in John chapter 20. He pulls up on the disciples. He says, "Look at my hands, look at my side. You know, touch my flesh. This is me. I've resurrected." He's showing them that he's not a ghost. He's not a spirit. He is the resurrected Christ. And then he goes on and he says, "Peace be unto you." The first thing he says is, "Peace be unto you. Peace be unto you." He says it twice. And then he goes, "Receive the Holy Spirit." He breathes on them. And, you know, why peace unto you? Because peace had been restored. You know, peace was lost in the garden. Peace has now been restored. You know, 1 Peter 1:3, it says that we've been born again. Now we have access to the Spirit of God. We can spiritually come alive again, right? Because of the resurrection of Christ. And then that's when we see the resurrection, John 20. And he comes and he's resurrected. And but yet he says something interesting in Luke 24. You know, it's the same scene. He's resurrected. He's showing himself to the disciples, but he says, "Now go wait in Jerusalem, go tarry for the promise of the Holy Spirit." And then so people are like, what is he talking about here? You just said receive the Holy Spirit, but now you're telling them wait for the promise of the Holy Spirit. So what I teach is typically, you know, what I teach is that John 20, he's breathing the breath of Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, the breath of God back into man. You know, that was lost when man sinned, and man was spirit. Every man that was born into Adam was born spiritually dead. That's why Jesus says you must be born again. And I preach that breath came back to man, that moment that Jesus resurrected. But then there's the baptism of the Holy Spirit. Anyways, we'll go into a whole deep teaching, but John chapter 7.